Good morning, coaches. I hope you're all doing well. Can't wait to see you guys at the weekend and get on the field. Just before that, I just want to go over a few exercises to give you guys some idea of how an exercise should look during social distancing. So I hope this slide can help. I would have liked to have got on the field and worked with you guys and showed you how the exercises work, but that would be tough getting everybody out there and finding a field. So the next best thing is just doing this coaches clinic online. So I hope this can help you guys and you can get something out of it. Here's the guidelines for the weekend. This is from the club and also from THPRD and from the state. All the coaches are going to wear a mask while they're coaching. Players wear a mask, walk into the field, and leaving the field. While they're exercising, it's their choice on whether they want to wear a mask, and they can take it off and put it by their backpack. When we do set up, we're going to set up a player gear area, and that's up to you guys to set that up, where you lay the cones out 6 feet apart, like we did for tryouts. So if you can set that up before the kids get there, and when they come, just place them on a cone until you guys are ready to run a practice. The players have got to hand sanitize when they enter the field and hand sanitize when they leave the field. Have plenty of water breaks, and then you make the call on that. Sometimes you may have to have one in between your station work or your exercise. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to wait until the exercise finishes. Just see how hot it is and get a handle on the group when you think they need a water break, and then send them back to the designated area where they can have a water break and then get them back on the field. Juggling and toe taps, I really don't want them incorporated into our practice sessions. I don't think they're anything to do with improving the players' knowledge of the game. As we're there teaching them, once a kid is doing juggling and toe taps, our teaching is irrelevant. We can't offer them anything in terms of doing things like this at our practice sessions. I think we've got to be more creative, and we've got to start having our practice sessions that are engaging and fun and game related to what they're going to do at the weekends. This is the most important thing in the club, and for us to move forward and be successful, it's what we do on the practice field that matters. There's no goalkeepers to be used. Unfortunately for them, they're going to just play as an outfield player. You can do shooting sessions. You could put a mannequin or a cone just inside of the post and get the players to use those as targets and try and slot it between the cone and the post. I know the club has got one of those big screens that cover the goal. So if you want to reach that, I know Michael's using it this weekend. So if you want to use that, let Michael know, because he's got it. Any intense running or fitness in your session, I would keep away from that. If you want to build up the fitness, just do some speed, agility, and quickness, and do it at 75%, because the players have obviously not played for a long time, so they won't be ready for that. I think it would be good if we did some kind of warm-up, whether it's with the ball or just jogging as a group and do some dynamic stretching, and finishing the session with stretches. Tryout was hard because we had to get the players in and get seeing them, and so that was hard. If we can incorporate just 10-minute warm-up and a 5-minute cool down, that would probably be better for the players. THPRD will have the staff watching us, so we've got to look professional and know what we're doing. Plan your sessions. Send it to the coaches that you're working with. It's up to you guys what you think's best. 2 or 3 stations or 4, depending on your numbers. There'll be mini goals available. If you want to go and get them from the shed, you can. The mannequins from the shed, you can. So go and get them. So let's try and we did a good job at tryout. So let's try and continue being professional and showing people, the onlookers, that we know what we're doing. Good morning, coaches. I hope you're all doing well. Can't wait to see you guys at the weekend and get on the field. Just before that, I just want to go over a few exercises to give you guys some idea of how an exercise should look during social distancing. So I hope this slide can help. I would have liked to have got on the field and worked with you guys and showed you how the exercises work, but that would be tough getting everybody out there and finding a field. So the next best thing is just doing this coaches clinic online. So I hope this can help you guys and you can get something out of it. Here's the guidelines for the weekend. This is from the club and also from THPRD and from the state. All the coaches are going to wear a mask while they're coaching. Players wear a mask, walk into the field and leaving the field. While they're exercising, it's their choice on whether they want to wear a mask, and they can take it off and put it by their backpack. When we do set up, we're going to set up a player gear area, and that's up to you guys to set that up, where you lay the cones out 6 feet apart like we did for tryouts. So if you can set that up before the kids get there, and when they come, just place them on a cone until you guys are ready to run a practice. The players have got to hand sanitize when they enter the field and hand sanitize when they leave the field. Have plenty of water breaks, and then you make the call on that. Sometimes you may have to have one in between your station work or your exercise. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to wait. Here's an exercise you can do in twos. The first one would be player dribbles to the cone diagonal, puts the foot on the ball, brings the ball back into the middle. Player puts the foot on it, that triggers the next player to go. We're going to be using this one for our younger ones again this weekend, and then we're going to be teaching them different kinds of turns as they get to that cone, so they can use the inside hook, the outside hook, Cruyff, drag back. So we'll be teaching those fundamentals to the players. It's pretty easy, but keeps them busy, and there are a couple of variations too. And the variations they're really important if you want to keep on the same kind of exercise. But when an exercise has no variations, or you're not swapping one player for another, the exercise can drag on a little bit. So just be careful. So we would start here with the players. They're just dribbling, then we're teaching them the kind of turn they make at the cone. The second variation to this exercise would be, once the player brings the ball back, they then run to a different cone. So this player now will bring the ball back, and now they'll make a decision now to run to that cone. Now this player's got to cut it across, and they can't go here, so they'll make a decision on which cone to go, and the player now can go to any cone. The third one in this exercise is the player passes and run. They didn't run around the cone then. The player passes and they run around the cone. They pass, they take a diagonal touch and dribble. This player runs around to that cone. They pass, they take a diagonal touch and dribble. And that's the three exercises that you can use on this one. Watching the players move through the exercise and show that they're enjoying themselves and they're trying to execute your coaching fundamentals of turning. And they've got to be doing it at game speed. When I did it last week, having the players going through slow, you got to try and lift their energy with your energy and get them running through game speed. The key coaching points that we're going to work on are dribbling, using the insides, outsides of both feet, their body shape when they go into the passing one and they receive that pass. Their first touch, they take it towards the target. So those are the coaching points that you'd look for in this exercise. But this is a good exercise for all age groups and getting them warmed up. One of the performance problems can be if you have 20 players, then you've got to make 10 boxes at 5x5. That's a lot of cones. So if you want to use it as a station, if you've got 8 players and you just need 2 boxes in one of your stations, it's also a good one for that. Probably lasts about 10 minutes. So here's one I like, passing the ball around and moving into space instead of following your pass. A player will pass the ball to the middle player. They'll open up and have a good body shape, receive the ball on the back foot hopefully. They will play a pass and then they'll move to the cone that's just been vacated by the player who's passed the ball. So they'll pass the ball in, they'll follow it, the player will pass the ball out, and then they will move to the empty cone that the player who passed them the ball. The diagram here shows 8 players. 8 players might be a lot of standing around and waiting for a little bit too long. So 5 players may be perfect, giving them plenty of touches on the ball, plenty of movement, plenty of decision making. This is a good exercise at working on the technique. You may have some variations in there where they can only play 1 touch, and then the quality of their pass into the middle and to the person's back foot is key. Then you can get the players to be creative. If they play the ball in, they play it with the outside of the foot to another player. Let the players be creative and see what they come up with. But this exercise wouldn't last for long. Probably a good warm up before you guys get started. I ran this exercise last week with our U11 girls. Went pretty well. Pretty similar to the one that you've just seen. But this would include 4 players. If I had 5, I had a 5th player stood at the corner at the bottom. But we'd be working the player in the middle. They're passing the ball. They're trying to remember where the 2 balls are and where that spur player is. So they're playing the ball in, receiving it on the back foot, and make sure they control it the first time round. Take a touch and pass. And then once they pass, they then receive the other ball and pass it to the spur player. The variation that I threw into here was, hey, can you play it 1 touch? So that would mean a quality pass into the middle by the player from the outside, and then quality body shape so they can execute a 1 touch pass. The other variation is when the player has passed the ball and they can move to a spur cone, they will do it like you just see that player through there. This player now would pass, they would move to a spur cone. So the player in the middle has got to scan the field and see where that player is moving so they get the correct body shape for receiving the next pass. But this is a good exercise because you then rotate the player in the middle and it can go on for 10 to 15 minutes is probably a good time to do this exercise. This exercise probably U11s and above. I'm not going to try this with our U9s and U10s. It might be a little bit too much for them. But it went well. Like I said, sometimes I had 5 players and then a player stood in this bottom cone. So I had 5 players, but then there's no variation of running to the spur cone when you have 5 players. So 4 players is ideal for this exercise, and it's a pretty good one. This exercise here is an old one. It was done by Ajax in their academy. It's known as the Y drill. It's good exercise working on technique, receiving on the back foot, passing accuracy, purpose at where they're going to pass it. And you can run through this exercise for a good 15 minutes with the variations that it has. Feel free to throw your own variations in there. Post-COVID, I ran this with the defender standing behind the person in the middle who's receiving the ball because it just mimics that somebody's there, and when they're doing technique, it's nice to have them get a sense that there's a defender behind them. So the first one here would be they play the ball in, they open up, They play it out wide, player runs through, and then players have got to remember who's next to pass to. So they play the ball, they run through. The next one would be a give and go. So player would pass the ball in, they'd open up, they'd play a give and go, and then the player would run through the gate. The next one after that, the third one, would be they play the ball in, they lay it back, then they go long, they now play a give and go, and they dribble through the gate. This is a good exercise for some combination passing. The problems that you may have is people will forget who received the ball. So you'll get players going to one area the same time twice in a row, but that's okay. But just get them to open up. The coaching points will be open up, and that's going to tell the player now you're passing the ball where you want the ball. If they have the correct body shape, even without communication, the player passing the ball will understand where that player wants it just because of their body shape. So it's important that the players get to that cone quickly and get the right body shape, and then they receive it on that back foot, and then they work on the quality pass of the accuracy and the weight and the timing of the pass, timing of the running this third. Here's another technical exercise that I like. Once you bring in the competition part, I really like it. Players are just static at the moment, just getting used to opening up, receiving it on that back foot, playing two touches, quality passing. So all these coaching points you'll throw in there, the players have got to have a purpose at where they're putting it. Players don't stand if you're not using the really flat discs. Players just stand a little bit away from the cone because it gets in the way. But it's a good exercise. The first one is players open up, play two touches, so they pass it around, pass it through the four cones. So a player will open up, take a touch, play it to the person's left foot, they'll open up, take a touch. They now play it to the right foot, open up, play it to the left foot, open up, and they just keep doing that until you feel like you need to change those two players in the middle. Then a variation of that is player opens up, and then it's one touch, and passing. So this player now takes two touches, plays it in here, and it's one touch, back to the start, and then you'd rotate those middle players again. One touch, back to the start. The final variation is just one touch passing, in, out, in, come in, back, play it in. So you got to get all your body shape right, quality of pass, and then you turn that into a competition between the groups of four, where once they go up to the top and come back to the start, that is one, and you would say to the group, you designate someone from the team to count out loud, and it would be the first team to get to 8. So up and down is 1, and you would just use that on your first one. Then on your second variation, you'd have another competition, and then on your third variation, you'd have another competition. So we're putting them under a little bit of pressure while they're trying to work on their ball control and their technical passing work. And the team that has the best quality will win. So that's another thing you can emphasize to the team, to the players. Team with the best quality will win. If they're focused on their task and their fundamentals, they'll win. It's good to see, as it's getting close and players are getting under pressure and watching them make mistakes because of the pressure. That's fine because that's a game situation for them. Just keep encouraging them and let them know that, hey, we accept that you're going to make mistakes. But this is a fun exercise. Once you really turn it into a competition, you can get the kids really, really going after it. So this is good technical work that's got pressure added to it. So it's a good one. So here's an exercise that includes 10 players. You can make this as big as you want, depending on the age and ability of your team. But you see where the two balls start. We're doing the social distancing from those starting points, and then after that, it should be okay. The point of the exercise is pass the ball and then follow the pass to the next cone. We're working on the inside group in this exercise are going to open up, receive it on the right. The outside are going to open up, receive it on the left foot, just touch it around the cone, and then play it into the player's right foot. Here now you'll see they go in the opposite direction. Player in the middle now receives it with their left foot with an open body shape, and then players follow their pass. Player on the outside would then receive it with their right foot. But as you've seen in a lot of the technical exercises, the coaching points are pretty much all the same. We're going over the same stuff, so that's good for the players. We're looking for the accuracy and the weight and the timing of the pass, body shape, the first touch. So we're looking at all these things, your intended target when you pass. So we want all our players to have a purpose when they're passing. I always say to the players, hey, when you pass a ball to somebody, your thought process should be, hey, go and enjoy that. You don't want a player receiving a pass from one of the teammates and feel like, what the heck was that? So that's the thought process. Right, where am I going to put it? So don't have the players standing next to the cones. That was one of the performance problems that I came across last week when I ran this with the O4s, the O4 girls. I was constantly telling them, hey, move away from the cone. So when they move away from the cone, the target for the player passing into the middle is, if I'm playing it to the right foot, it should be the cone and the player's right foot. They've formed a little mini goal there, and that is going to be my target. But if that player stands a couple of inches from the cone in the middle, then you're not asking much for where I can put that ball, and that's going to be difficult for the person passing the ball. But this is a good exercise. There's a couple of other variations that you can add of your own. But yeah, this was a good one that could last, a good 10, 15 minutes. This is one that Kelsey ran last week for the O4s. And this is working on passing and then moving to the spur cone. So the players' field awareness and decision making has got to be pretty good to get it right, because as you've probably already figured out, this exercise can go wrong if a player moves to a wrong cone, and then they'll trap the player with the ball so the player can't get out. So the player's decision on where they're going to move to create space for their teammate is key. You can't just run to a cone without a purpose. There's a reason why you're running to that cone, and you're going to be freeing up space for your teammate. So this is a good exercise working on the technique and the body shape and the passing, and they're always going to be keeping an eye on the ball and where the spur cones are. The variation that you can add in here is once the ball is being moved around, a player can move to a spur cone even without them passing the ball, because this one we're showing you pass and you move, you pass and you move. But now watch, this player at the bottom just moves and they move. So the players will move now to just create space for others to run into. So you're getting that player rotation, a little bit like you would do on a soccer field. So this was a good one. So that would be the only variation that we added, and Kelsey did a good job with the O4s on this exercise. And this would probably run for about 10 to 15 minutes. Could be a good warm-up for you guys before you get going. So these next few exercises are going to be kind of like game-like situations where the players are competing. And we ran this one with the young ones, and we're trying to get them to just compete and score on the goal, on the mini goal. So this was a good one. The performance problems that we had is getting the distance right for that defender running around the cone and getting into that defensive zone. As you can see, between those two yellow cones, there's some no man's land where players can't go. But the coach would play the ball in. That would trigger a defender to run around, and obviously the coach has got to let them know which defender's going to go. But you could go one side first and then the other side, and then as you see, the four defenders through the back, they just rotate round to the next cone. The player who attacks, they go and move around now onto that back red cone, and then the defender just swaps places with them and comes and attacks. But this was pretty good for the younger ones. Um, this might be a little bit. I mean, the older ones could do it, no problem. But if you've got a mini goal, the older ones would probably just smash the ball, and the mini goal would just keep falling over. But the younger ones, they seem to enjoy it. You can make it into a little competition if you want. You could have, the defenders. You could have them just running back defending if you wanted to do that, and then you could switch them over later. But it's better if you just keep them rotating. Once the attacker attacks, let them run around the back. And like I say, if you find that the defenders getting there too early or getting there too late, then you may have to move those orange cones that they're running around so you can make it competitive. Another thing we saw were, a player would make their mind up on which goal they're going to, and then when the defender gets there, they would still try and go to that goal. So then we would help that player now to cut the ball now and go towards the other goal, or maybe run to one goal and then play a disguised pass through the other goal. That would be good for them too. But this was pretty competitive and the kids loved it. So this was a good one for the younger ones. So this one we have a rondo. Rondo is 6 players. There's a lot of cones here. You don't really have to probably put the cones in at the back of the yellow square. If you put them in at the front, that should give the player an idea of where they should stay. But the point of the exercise is oranges are playing the ball around, and to score, they've got to try and play a splitting pass through that red square to a teammate. If they can do that, they score a point. And once they move, you can see the spur box is what they've got to run into. So then you're looking at the soccer IQ and their support. This will help the players, obviously, in our attacking phase that's in our blueprint, where the purpose of our attack is to outnumber the opponent around the ball. So this helps them to understand that concept. While we're keeping them social distancing, we can at least get some rondo working, which is a good learning tool for them to understand the concept of outnumbering the opponent. And then their movement, their body shape, their passing, their decision to score, a performance problem. Maybe they'll try and force that pass through instead of being patient and waiting for that opportunity. But this is a good one, and like we said, all the coaching points are the same, going through these passing exercises with accuracy and weight and timing of your pass, your body shape, your first touch. All those things can be looked at here from a coach's point of view, and then you can rotate that player in the middle. So this is a good exercise, and it at least gives them some work on rondos. If you want to work on some defending and getting the players to understand pressure, cover and balance and setting a defensive block, this is a great exercise for that understanding. It helps as well because you could use this exercise just as it is now without COVID, but obviously the zones and how big you make that is key of getting the exercise right. So we'll have in here, we've got 10 players, 3 defenders, all set as a back line in their own zone. Yellows have got to try and stop the ball getting to the target, and the reds have got to try and stop the ball getting to the yellow targets. If they win the ball in transition, that's probably a time for them to score. So make sure you look out for that, because a lot of teams will win the ball and just continue passing and use this exercise as a kind of passing exercise, when if they're not going to play the ball forward, then we're never going to score, and they're not going to look forward. So you look for the players as they're playing it around. Are they scanning forward looking for the targets? Are the targets trying to see the ball and move into those spaces where we can find that pass? But this is really good at teamwork, and it gets the players believing in if they work together, um, they can achieve some good things. But if they play a flat line, the team that's defending, the opposition are always going to score. So they've got to work together at this exercise for it to work, and that's key in when we're coaching. The exercise is the teacher, and this is a perfect example of that. The exercise is the teacher. If you defend poorly, the opposition will score. So it encourages the players to really focus and work together, and then you can turn it into a competition. Whatever you think, first team to 3 wins, and then obviously you will rotate those target players and let them have a turn, and then you just keep feeding soccer balls into the team. But this is a really good one at getting them to understand pressure cover balance and setting that defensive block. Is a really good one. I think last week I used this on pretty much every tryout for the older ones. It just gives the coach a good idea of their intelligence and their movement, and can they play in tight spaces. So it's a really good exercise. For COVID reasons, it was great. But we played sometimes with 3 in there and not 4. If I had 9 players, I played with 2 target players. I played with 1 goal sometimes because I didn't, the coaches were using a goal, so I played with 1 goal that was just down the middle. But this one here shows 10 players. If you've got 10 players, fine. It's good with 8 as well. But the key is when they win the ball, like the defensive block, they're now winning that ball, can they straight away go from defense to offense in that transition? Can the target player find the right opening, create the right body shape, and to challenge that player now? They've only got 2 touches to score. They've got a maximum of 2. They can't take more than that. So some of the performance problems were the ball into the forward was fired in at head height. The forward's not really going to do much with that in scoring for 2 touches. And then also the forward would run really, really wide and then take a first touch away from the goal. And then he's going to struggle, or she's going to struggle to score with the second touch. But it was a good exercise. You rotate the target players and you just keep it going. So this one could run for about 15 minutes, but it got the players competing and having a good time and working together as a team, like you saw in that last exercise on setting that defensive block. This is the same. If you don't work together as a team, you'll get scored on. So it encourages the players to work together, which I really enjoy seeing that. So it was a good exercise. Here's an exercise. I think Russ did it with the all-7 girls. He said it went pretty well. This one is just breaking the lines, finding the target, and just working together and trying, in these times of COVID, trying to make it as game related as you possibly can. This one works really well. This one's showing 10 players, 6 against 4. The 3 are trying to find the 3 teammates, and then their teammates have got to score on the goal. If the Greens win it, the Green can find a teammate, and then they can score on the goal. And they're all staying in their zones, which is important this time. But then you can rotate. You can rotate all the players in here. You can change the greens for the blues. Obviously, with some, we're not using pinnies. So if you've asked your players to come in different coloured jerseys, half of them come in the Navy FC kit, half of them come in the training kit. This might help you. But if you haven't, it's still no problem. Players know where the zones are. We wouldn't use this one for the young ones. This might be a little bit difficult for them. This is more for the older ones. But like in the technical work, for players to be successful, the body shape, receiving it on the back foot that you've done in your technical work, they're so important in getting a goal or being successful. You know, those seconds it takes to control the ball and pass it, or have the right body shape and play it one touch, they're key in their development of them. You know, they've got to understand that. But that was a good exercise, and it went pretty well. So that's it. Hopefully, that gave you guys some ideas. As you know, um, I'm a big believer in, if we don't get it right on the practice field, we won't have any success whatsoever. So use me as a resource. I'm certainly not um, the answer to finding out everything for you. I don't know everything. What I will do is I'll try my best to plan things for you. But I think if we all start going down the road of putting on practice sessions that are going to be related to what they're going to be doing at the weekends when they're playing, that's the most important thing. If we're on the soccer field and our teams are not training hard and working hard, and then we take them onto the soccer field and we expect them to do that, that's not going to happen. If they're defending poorly and we're not doing training sessions on showing them how to defend as a unit and stay compact, then we're not doing our job properly. So I'm a big believer on, if we get it right on the practice field and we coach them well, we'll be successful and we'll want more players that want to join the club. So I'll see you guys out there at the weekend. Thanks for watching, and like I say, I hope it's helped you guys, and if you guys need anything, you know I'm here for you. All right, I'll see you at the weekend.